Denise, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Thanks for taking the time. And welcome to our episode number 3.
I'm so excited.
Where we have 5 solid viewers checking us out at all times. And when I say 5 solid viewers, that includes me, my mom, my brother, hopefully you, and Adam. But welcome to the show. So, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and in Amerispec, and for all those people that don't know how fabulous you are.
So I work at Amerispec of Canada, and we are a franchise operation. We have owners across the country, coast to coast. We have home inspectors, we have energy advisors, we offer radon testing, sewer scope, all kinds of, we have a whole host of knowledgeable inspectors to help homeowners with anything they could want to know about their home.
You heard it here, folks. Amerispec is into everything energy efficiency related. You know what I mean? And I think it's interesting. If I'm not mistaken, you guys are the only organizations where you have adopted and successfully executed on the franchise model when it pertains to the business of conducting home energy efficiency, correct?
I think we are. We are.
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
And you guys are across Canada.
Yeah.
And how do you see the business? So anyways, before we get into this, I have to tell you guys a funny story about Amerispec. funny story about Amerispec.
I haven't heard this story.
And Denise haven't heard this story, and I intentionally kept it, and it came to me yesterday at night, where all great things comes to me. So, Amerispec is the reason why I'm in this business today. Would you like to know why?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yes.
So, when I was 27, which was about 3 weeks ago, I was in the solar water heating business.
Okay.
So, and back then it was entrepreneurship at best. So we used to, I went to China, I did a lot of research on solar water heating systems, and I brought a whole bunch of them down, and then I started, installing solar water heating systems for my friends. Those friends turned into enemies because of my poor quality of execution, and it was just kind of going through the rhythm of it. And I remember one day I was on top of a roof installing a solar water heating systems, and I was playing to the universe of what the hell am I doing with my life? I'm already in debt. This business is not going well. Everybody's things are not good. And all of a sudden, at the bottom, this gentleman with this big blower door fan walks into the house, and an hour and a half walks out of the house. And I asked myself, what is going on downstairs? And that was an Amerispec energy advisor that did the audit for the solar water heating system that I used to install. And back then, you used to get a rebate from solar water heating system.
Right.
So I started talking to him, and I think I came to the realization that, you know what? I need to be down there instead of being up there. And that's how I started my career and my research around how to become an energy advisor. So thank you, Amerispec.
Yeah, we've been doing energy audits for a long time. 2003, I think, 2004 is when we started doing energy audits.
You guys are great. And then I think the second story I have about Amerispec is when you and I connected, which was 2 years ago?
Yeah.
3 years ago?
2018?
2018,
I think.
So, quick story on that. So we launched this initiative called EcoNest, as you're aware of. And EcoNest is the software that we developed, which is around digitizing what energy advisors do when they conduct a home energy assessment. So our motto was to go 100% paperless and enable energy advisors through technology as they are conducting the service of home energy evaluation. And one of the very first people, and whenever you build a product, you like to think that once you build it and show it to a prospect, they will enjoy it. But you don't know till you actually do it. So we worked on the development of this software for about a year, and then we launched the software. And one of the first people that I offered the software to was Amerispec. And it was so refreshing to hear and see your joy when it came to, it was I don't know if you recall, I don't know if you recall the demo that we had.
I do. And it was so mind blowing because it was so obvious that it was something that we needed. Energy advisors need that in the field. I mean, it was 2018 then. It's 2021 now, and we're showing up in houses with 8 pieces of paper and a quadruplicate form for them to sign, and we're still using Canada Post to mail things. So why is this not all digitized? Why are we not collecting the data digitally instead of?
I think part of it is mindset and part of it is industry. And we had conversations on this, right? I think when you have players like ourselves, service organizations, working in such a rebate-dependent industry, people are always fearful for the rebate amount coming to an end. Everyone has this mindset of make your money while you can, because you don't know what the future holds, and allocating $250,000 to do a software, it's just not feasible in an industry where your financials are set up this way, which is pending on rebate. So why would I want to spend that investment if I don't know what the future holds? And I think that's one of the main reasons why people don't really want to invest into it. But we were at a point, Canada Energy Audit and Econas was at a point where we said, you know what, someone needs to lead it, someone needs to start the change, and change needs to happen, and so be it. Let's just try it, and hopefully it worked out for the good. I think you guys are on it right now.
We are. We have I don't know how many, but we have 5 or 6 energy advisors using it now. So it would be nice to have it across Canada. I know right now it's really Ontario centric, but I'm sure you're working on making it more accessible.
Our goal is to eradicate the post-export modifications. That's the goal. I don't know if you saw the last newsletter that came from Econas.
I didn't. Maybe I'm off your list. I don't know.
You are never off anyone's list, Denise. That's just crazy talk. So tell me about, obviously you and I have been working on the Enbridge's HER program for some time now. Just give me some, what do you think about the HER program? How are you envisioning it evolving into the future?
I think slowly, as you know, when the furnace rebates were decreased, there was a significant decrease in the number of homeowners who were interested in having energy audits done on their home. The furnace was a big driver. HVAC contractors were good partners. I think now, though, we've reached a rhythm where, energy advisors have been educated on the new rebate amounts, how to help homeowners reach those new rebate targets. I think installation contractors are getting more on board. I think the last year it's been tough, obviously, with COVID, but energy advisors and our business owners are resilient and flexible and willing to work around difficulties or complications, and I think they've done a really good job of coming to terms with the new programs and making the best out of the situation.
I agree. I think Enbridge, correct me if I'm wrong, Enbridge's home energy retrofit program, in its variations, it's one of the longest rebate-oriented programs that we have had in a consistent fashion. It's the longest.
Well, since Energuide. I mean, the Energuide for Houses program was, I think, 2008.
All the way to 2012.
Yeah,
but Enbridge has been going on for approximately 5 years.
That's right.
So so they're actually in some ways they're bringing certain amount of stability to a much needed industry where where you can actually plan for a change. And despite of what you said about reductions in furnaces, I think we are seeing how that is beneficial as a whole. You know what I mean? There's always been this conversations around should a rebate be issued for furnaces, and more specifically, if a homeowner has already a efficient furnace. This is one of the HVAC contractors working on this thing. Furnace retrofit and rebate allocated to furnace retrofit was always one of those uphill battles where you have to just kind of, there's the justification was always, the question was always there, right? Why should we give rebates for furnaces when the new code dictates that the furnaces should be high efficient to begin with?
no question. There's no question about why the furnace rebates were decreased. That's not the, it just made it more difficult to.
Yeah, and I think there was that fear and phobia at the beginning of it all, that when that happens, what's going to happen to the program in its entirety and all the people that are involved with it. Yeah. And I think it's refreshing to see how we were able to adapt to it as an industry, because now it's more of an insulation program than a heating program, right? So and everybody has been able to adapt to it very seamlessly. Yeah, it took a little bit of time.
It was scary, not scary, but you know what I mean.
It was scary. Let's just call it what it is. It was like, what's going on?
Yeah, what's going to happen now that we don't have this, right? Because it was a way to get in the house, because the HVAC contractors were on board, and every time they were going to talk to a homeowner, they were able to sell this, right? But then it turns into a furnace rebate program, which is not where the savings are. Right?
The savings are not there. The savings are not there, and you know what I mean. And it seems like it's more sustainable now. I mean, obviously the numbers are not as high as ever before, but it's more sustainable now, and it seems like it is a lower hanging fruit. It's just the homeowner needs to get into that mindset. I think what was always so fascinating about aligning yourself with heating systems is furnaces are essential services, and what I mean by essential services is that if your furnaces breaks down and you don't change it, you die. And I think that's what happens, you know what I mean? Because it's just, you go considering the weather conditions, and maybe attic insulations and wall insulations are not as a priority in relative to, and that's why it's hard to make the homeowner consider adopting it, right? But luckily, I mean, through education and awareness and the increased rebates around attic insulations and air ceilings, you're in a position where you can educate homeowners on why they should up their attic insulation, and also considering implementing air sealing measures.
Absolutely. Basement insulation. If you're doing a renovation anyway, I mean, why not add some insulation? Right? Even main walls. We did a renovate on our house. We had the drywall down all over in the main floor, and we insulated the headers and the floor above the garage. And it was easy to add those things to the reno anyway. And the cost of the project, you're putting in a new kitchen, some insulation is insignificant, right? And it has such a big impact.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, HER program, and now, I guess the next question is, where do we go from here? We definitely have this HER program that is interesting and is working. And there's talks of this new federal program that is coming down. Nobody knows exactly what it's going to be. Frankly speaking, it's hard not to look at it as more of a disruptive thing, especially within Ontario, of how it's going to compete with the HER programs. I'd love to get your perspective on that. What do you think?
So because we're a national organization and we have energy advisors across the country, you're right, in Ontario it's going to have an effect, but it's going to have a positive effect, I think, across the country for energy advisors, because we have energy advisors who are in provinces where there are no programs. So it's hard to get that. And it's too bad, because it's such a great service. I mean, to learn about your house, to know, okay, I'm doing a renovation, what can I add to this renovation to actually make an impact on my energy bills? So to have that energy audit done without an incentive, it's just not there for the homeowner, unfortunately. So having that federal program, having that rebate, getting that energy advisor in the house, I think it will be beneficial across the country. But in Ontario, in terms of the disruptiveness, I think it will bring in homeowners that do not have natural gas appliances, but it's going to, I think, delay appointments. I think we're going to be busy. You know what I mean? I think there's going to be a lot more homeowners interested. And
again, it really depends on how the program will be set up and how we will be moving forward with it. I think one interesting thing is, and here's why I think it's disruptive, is because unlike other provinces, the situation in Ontario is different. First of all, whenever there's a federal program, Ontario typically gulps up 50% at that market share, simply because of its sheer size and population. And the second piece of it is that we already have a perfectly okay program where the audit is subsidized, where is geared towards attic installations, heating, and domestic hot water, and all that good stuff. So now enter NRCan. And from NRCan's perspective, it seems like they're focusing on providing subsidies for audit, which is something that Enbridge is already doing. It seems like they will provide subsidies towards air sealing and attic installations, which is something that Enbridge is already doing. And there seems to be some focus on air source heat pump and renewable energy, which is something, and of course fuel switching, because from NRCan's perspective, they're going to be focusing on greenhouse gas emission savings, where from a utilities perspective, they think about cubic meter of gas savings. Now, from Enbridge's perspective, only one person can claim savings. And so if NRCan is going to be providing rebates and you're going to be going through NRCan, you cannot go through HER. And it does make sense, especially because think about it, right? If there's Enbridge's rebate for attic installations, and then there's NRCan's rebates for attic installation, you combine the two, the homeowner makes money. And it goes beyond the cost of the attic installation itself. So it's very interesting to see how that's going to get played out. Would Enbridge still stay, because NRCan wants to do a complementary program to existing. Enbridge's may not be in the same mindset, and they may not allow double dipping. Right. So it's very hard to see where this thing is going to land. I'm so fearful about maybe Enbridge's decide to bow out because of this new federal program, and then we end up with a federal program, and then in 1 or 2 years the government changes, and then we end up with nothing. I mean, like like I've been doing this service for a really, really long time, and the last time we had a federal program was back in 2008, 2009.
I believe it's 2007 it started, but maybe 2008.
And it started in 2000, but it really ramped up in terms of rebates. And it stuck around for about 2 years, correct?
So from like 2010 to, but then there was the province double in Ontario. You got double, and then there was a home renovation tax rebate.
But if you look at the ramp up period, it wasn't more than 2 years.
No.
It was not more than 2, and it was literally the Ministry of Energy coming in. We hit our targets. We're taking off $100 million off the table, and we're good to go. And it's really, so I know people are excited, but at the same time, I'm extremely fearful, is because in Ontario, where the majority of our businesses are, we might find ourselves in a position where Enbridge will pull down their value propositions because of how similar it is, and then we stay with federal and then due to government change, it goes away, and then we end up with nothing.
So Enbridge and NRCan need to work together. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they must be in talks. Maybe you know more than I do. I can tell from your face you do, but there must be discussions, because
there are secret meetings happening as we speak. They meet once every day when the sun sets. I think. Obviously, I'm not privy to any more information than you are. I mean, if Amerispec does not know, I don't think I would.
But in terms of, natural gas customers as opposed to, propane or electricity, or how do they deal with those customers? Do they divide them? Do they say you can do both? But then what does Enbridge do for their savings? How do they get their savings targets if it's not through a program like this?
So there's, in my opinion, there's going to be a couple of scenarios. In my humble opinion, as a pro podcaster, let me enlighten you guys. So we might have a scenario where, just like Green On, if you recall, where when people call in, you qualify them either for the federal program or the utility program. So depending on what you're planning to do, you can choose to go with A, or you can choose to go with B. That could be a scenario. And in that particular case, there is going to be an HER program, and there's going to be the federal program. Again, pending of what the federal program is, and what the rebates are, that's going to be dictating a lot of that. The second scenario, the one that I'm not looking forward to, is Enbridge deciding that these two programs are extremely similar and we do not like double dipping. And so long as that there's a federal program, there's not going to be that much reasons behind having an HER program too. Right. So they're just basically going to discontinue, suspend the HER program till further notice, and then you're going to end up with a federal program. The problem with that approach, as I spoke to you before, is that it's very hard to bank on the government. I mean, that's what the history shows. You may have the program for a year or 2 or 3 or more, but you don't know, right? Yeah. I rather deal with a utility company than a government when it comes to issuing rebates for the homeowner, because that's sustainability. If you look at the data, right? If you look at the data, Enbridge has been with us for such a long time. Yeah. And that's something that we have never seen from the government. So that does have certain concern if option B comes to the realization. Other provinces, I can see that because they're not predominantly driven by one utility companies, or are they? I'm not sure. Actually, FortisBC in BC, they are.
In BC, they are, and in Nova Scotia, they are there. But there's a provincial body that does the rebates there. They have a really good program in Nova Scotia.
Tell us about that. What's going on in Nova Scotia?
So they do rebates for new homes. They do rebates for existing homes. For a lot of heat pump rebates.
Efficiency One, right?
Efficiency Nova Scotia.
Efficiency Nova
Scotia has a program. They do the home warming, so low income housing. They do rebates for those. Efficiency Nova Scotia pays, similar to what is happening with the Enbridge program.
Right. And you guys are active over there?
Very active, yeah. We have quite a few energy advisors there, but yeah. So like I said, for provinces where the predominant heating is electricity, so Newfoundland, Labrador, New Brunswick, the maritime provinces, you're going to see more. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be beneficial for energy advisors in those provinces. And even in BC, I mean, they do have the utility programs,
Clean BC program, right?
Mm-hmm, but it's not universal across the whole province. So.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't see that much volume coming out of BC because the rebates are more prescriptive oriented.
Yes.
And I think you need to do 3 measures in order for you to have an energy advisors, and because of that, we haven't seen that much volume coming out of there.
There's not a lot of. I mean, they seem like they're on the right track in terms of their step code, and I think that's coming across the country, in the coming years. And in terms of anytime you do a renovation, there's the requirement for an energy audit. But you're right, there hasn't been a lot of business coming out of those.
So I think it's fair to say that the majority of players, the way I see it, is obviously is Ontario through the utility. I know there's some good stuff happening in Quebec through Renault Climat. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
We are not active in Quebec yet.
Then I would say, I guess, and now to Nova Scotia, it seems like. But in terms of volume, still Ontario trumps all volumes. Like if you look at. I would say probably Ontario, that Enbridge program is the biggest. Yeah. Renault Climat is big too, but based on what I've heard, but that's what it is right now. And then, so you have all this stuff happening all at the same time, and then you have this new initiative or this new thinking around virtual audits.
Yes.
Your thoughts on that?
I hate it. I think it should not have. Let's move on. It doesn't happen.
You heard it here first, folks. Denise hates a virtual audit. God, Denise, why can't you be open-minded? I see where you're coming from.
No, but the idea of just having the homeowner enter their information into a website or some sort of app, and then getting any reasonable information about it. The average homeowner doesn't know what they have in their house. In terms of insulation, even heating systems, they're definitely not going up in their attics. I just don't know how it's accurate.
It's funny that we don't have virtual home inspectors, but they want to have virtual audits.
Right?
You know what I mean? It's one of those things that makes you think of the perceived value of our service is not aligned with the fee that we charge, and therefore you have conversations around virtual audit. And one of the main motivations of virtual audit, at least before COVID-19, was mitigating the upfront costs pertaining to the energy audit fee.
Well, because our industry is so rebate oriented, somebody's always paying you for that service. So you don't value it. When you don't see that cost, when you're not recognizing that cost, you don't necessarily recognize the value. Or when your HVAC contractor says, "Here, get these guys in, and they'll get you a rebate," you don't recognize the value of the service, unfortunately.
Right.
And I think we need to work to change that, because there's so much value in what our energy advisors do. There's so much good information that they have. There's so much knowledge that they can share with the homeowner, and I think a lot of times it's just not appreciated, unfortunately.
And I always go back to the home inspection reference, because I feel like it's very close to what we do as a service. Home inspection is not mandatory, but people do it in the event when a house is being bought and sold. And I think why people do it is that because they want to kind of get that perspective of how structurally sound a house is when it comes to all its elements. And people choose to make that decision because they believe that it brings them value. And it's written in the contract that, often than not, in the purchase and sales agreement, it's written that you should, it's predicated on doing a home inspection. Mind you, when the market gets really hot, people don't want to do home inspections. When the real estate prices go like super high, you see a huge decline.
When you're paying $200,000 over asking, and
nobody
you can't
cares about home inspection,
and you can't pay $500 for a home inspection. Like,
the perceived value, right?
That's the first clause to go, right? That's the first clause to get waived, and we're seeing that across the country now in markets where it's unheard of for that to happen, and it's happening everywhere right now.
It's one of the negative byproducts of this increased market price on real estates. And it's almost like their home inspection business is suffering, not as much, but in some ways the same way that the home energy, that perceived value gets decayed as the real estate prices go up.
Right. It's such a fraction of the price, and there's so much value in it. There's so much information. I mean, you probably took a tour through the house. You probably only had 30 minutes. So you're in the house for 30 minutes, and now you're going to pay, $100,000 on top of the $800,000 that the house is listed for.
And funny enough, once you get the house and you're sitting in it, and it's like, we won, baby. $250,000, and we stuck it to AmeriSpec. And we saved ourselves $500. Yeah. And then your wife turns into you and says, "Honey, what's that noise I hear?" What noise? That's the sound of victory. No, baby, I'm talking about this crazy plumbing noise I hear in the background. Is our house possessed by a demon? No, it's not possessed by a demon. You didn't do proper due diligence. And honey, how come our lights go? How come the circuit breaker goes off as soon as I turn on the sauna? Well, because there's some fundamental electrical issues. Oh, and we would have known about that if we would have gone a home inspection. And honey, what's this crack in the foundation wall?
We have a pool. We have a pool now in the basement.
There is a pool in the house? We were just so busy buying the house, we forgot about the pool.
But it's so true.
Is that moisture I smell in the basement?
But we've had home inspectors do inspections after people buy the house. They get in there, they've won, as you said.
Congratulations, you bought a piece of shit.
And that's it, right? And these are first-time homeowners. They don't know any better.
Yeah, it's funny that even in as old of a profession of home inspection, it still goes through some intricacies that our profession goes through, and I'm always fascinated by it, and I always ask that fundamental questions of how can we position ourselves within the industry the same way home inspection is. Often than not, with the exception of crazy increase in real estate values, most people agree that you should get a home inspection.
Definitely.
I mean, that mindset is, and the question is, how do we get energy audit to that level? I always wonder that, and I don't know, throwing rebate at it all the time,
Yes.
free energy audit, it's gonna do us right in the long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that the people that we are not targeting and that maybe we should be targeting more is the general contractors, the people that do the big renovations. I know we talked to installation contractors, but if you're doing a renovation, why not find out more about your house before you get into it in terms
Right.
of how much energy you're consuming and where you can make improvements to.
Yeah, the same element that is extremely advantageous to us, it's the very same element that is going to cripple this profession in the long run, and it's the fact that it's rebate oriented and free energy audit. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
it actually gives you this illusion that you have a business.
Yeah.
But the minute the rebate goes, so does your entire organization.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
Yeah.
we're one of the very few businesses where we spend extremely little amount of money on sales and marketing
Yeah.
relative to the overall budget. Why?
Yeah.
Because it is rebate oriented and is promoted through utilities or provincials or federal government.
Yeah.
But it's an illusion. I mean, I think it's insane that we don't spend money on marketing and really getting it out there. I know home inspections are doing it constantly.
Yeah.
And because it's rebate oriented, and there are certain people that can do what we do, and that's so long as that exists, we're okay. As soon as the rebate goes away, everybody goes home.
Yeah. So what do we do in our industry to make that energy audits a part of either the home buying process or the renovation process, or I get my utility bill and it's twice what I want it to be. So what can I do on my home? Where's my biggest bang for the buck coming from?
I think tying it into the utility bill is the key, because that is, now we're talking concrete numbers. So if I come in and I do a service and I give you a concrete roadmap, and there is a vivid, new word of the day, vivid. There is a vivid ROI that links what I tell you to do to reduction in utility bill, and based on that I can come up with a payback period. That's when it starts to make sense. And then when we get the financing companies behind it to pay for the renovations, then you get yourself a sustainable business. And I saw it in the solar industry, right? Solar panels are not cheap. They're still not cheap, but there are people out there where they install solar panels and they do the utility model, right? Let the solar panel pay for itself. And I think those type of financial innovation needs to be more at the center of it than just rebates.
Yes.
And then tying that to the utility bills, and how are we helping to really reduce your bottom line.
Yeah. And I think, like, in Ontario, if we're talking about Ontario, I mean, the portion of your bill that's actually the amount of energy that you consume is fairly small. I mean, we don't pay very much.
It's heavily subsidized.
For a unit of electricity or for a unit of natural gas. So even if you make those improvements,
the payback period would be in 20 plus years, easy.
It's a long time,
right?
But that's not going to be forever. I mean,
right.
we can't believe that our cost per kilowatt hour is always going to be what it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually that's going to increase. So we need to be prepared for that. We need to be able to help homeowners when that happens.
Yeah. Like, why would someone get a net zero home, or why would people go above and beyond if they're paying pennies on the dollar when it comes to their kilowatt hour? And whether that's another illusion that we have to deal with, right? And the costs are so low that people are not willing to take action. But luckily, I think when you talk about entities like IESO and when you talk about entities like Enbridge, they know it's easier to save a cubic meter of gas. They know it's easier to save a kilowatt hour than producing one.
Yes.
And hence these programs that are out there, it's much easier.
Yeah.
The amount that, like the input relative to its output. And
so maybe the cost is not the driver. Maybe the driver is, look at your gas bill, look at how much gas, think about how much cubic meter of natural gas is, and look at what happens if you save that.
I think that's one piece that is missing from the home energy audit service, that we don't really do an in-depth analysis on the utility bills. And I think that ties into the cost. And I always wonder, if we do that, I think we can bring a lot more value to the homeowner itself. And maybe the virtual audit can help in certain ways when it comes to that. And it could be served almost as an icebreaker, where those savvy homeowners, I'm talking about 2% of them that care, where they can actually go through the process of doing the virtual audit and just kind of baselining their house from their perspective and kind of getting a high level understanding. And then if they want to take the next step, which is actually an on-site assessment by a professional energy advisors, they can go ahead with it. And now the professional energy advisor comes in with predefined information, which would help them to potentially bring the cost down a little bit, and then really focus on the stuff that matters. Right. So maybe they can work in conjunction. That's always been my opinion of the virtual audit. I think any service in its soul, it may not be able to stand on its own 2 feet, but once you combine it with that human element and communication piece and just being at someone's home, I do think it could drive value.
So maybe it's like you say, the door open, and not just for the 2%. Maybe the 2% want to do both, but maybe the other 50% of homeowners who have an idea but can't be bothered to do the virtual audit or don't have enough information about their house, then in those cases maybe they skip the virtual audit, or maybe they have it and then they want the in-person audit to
I always wonder about that, like how can you gamify it, how you can make a user more friendly and really get the homeowner engaged in the process. And I think that should be one of the premise of how a virtual audit should be structured. And then once you have identified those homeowners that want to know more and they want to move forward with it, then the energy advisor steps in. They have that prelim information, and now they can put their focus and attention on communications and interactions, and hopefully, and the next thing that I would love to see is, can they potentially act as the project manager during the renovation process and really the contractors are good, but contractors are segmented and they're very focused on what they want to do. But that energy advisor can now actually walk them through, and maybe the virtual audit can help with that too. It's not so bad after all, is it, Denise?
It's not the virtual.
Are you changing your mind and opinion on this?
I said hate, but I did.
Yeah, you did say hate. Are you taking that back, Denise?
There's a place for it, right?
We are making change here, gentlemen. Changing hearts and minds.
There is a place for it, but it's not a replacement. It's not a replacement.
I agree. I think it's a complementary tool, and we all know. Don't forget about the compliments. Anyways, it's something.
Is this a theme?
Don't forget about the compliment. It's becoming a theme. And I think one of the compliments of the home energy audit, it's the virtual audit. You know what I mean? I do think there's benefits of having a contractor portal. I do think that there is a benefit of having a portal when NRCan manages the process and invoices can be uploaded to them. I do believe that there should be a portal at the municipal level, or maybe even at the provincial and municipal level, where people now can take that information and match it against financial offerings that is available within that particular jurisdictions.
All of these programs, the federal programs that have run in the past, and nothing is homeowner centric. There's so much responsibility on the energy advisor to educate the homeowner about rebates, about renovations that they can do. There's no easy way for the homeowner to take that information from the audit and actually apply it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it almost feels like, if I had to simplify it, is that there's like two major scenarios. Either the energy advisor is being done as a result of a contractor, and in some cases the homeowner has no clue who this person is. They might think that even they're part of the contractor themselves. They come in and out and they get their money.
Yeah.
And on the opposite end, you have the homeowner you have the energy advisors doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
From the beginning to the end and helping it out. And there needs to be almost this happy medium where, yes, you do know that there's a service here, there is a value, they're helping you with it, and you can see it from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, like you said, a portal somewhere that everybody, all that information is in one place for that homeowner.
Yeah. Not necessarily one place, because there's a lot of stuff that you have to think about, right? Like if you look at the service and now it's managed, and if you look at the service and the procedures and protocols of it, it's coming from Natural Resources Canada, and the act of the energy and the act of doing the home energy assessment. That's one portal all within itself, where you now have the output, which is the energy label, and the home energy audit reports being there. Now, there's the utility element that needs to fit into it, and then depending of where the rebates are coming from, it could be federal, it could be utility, it could be provincial, it could be municipal, it could be a combination of all of that.
Yeah.
Then that needs to feed into it, and then there's the renovators and the contractors. How do you tie them into it? Who is going to start what, and how it's all going to get connected? Super simple stuff. Super simple stuff. I wonder why no one has figured it out by now.
Yeah.
So we have decided to. So our verdict on virtual audit is we like it, but we don't like it that much.
There's a place for it, but it's not a replacement.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. So those individuals, Denise, that want to get into this business, how would you guide them? Because this is the segment that we want to focus on.
I think it's a great business. I mean, I was a home inspector. I started in 2001 as a home inspector. I was the youngest home inspector. I was 10 years old, because I'm only. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, you're 23, so you were the youngest.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not quick in the math.
We are actually de-aging, reverse aging as we're doing this podcast.
So, and I did home inspections for a long time, until about 2009, when the energy program was getting big, and then I switched to doing energy. I was an energy advisor. So it's a different business. It's home inspection is also a great business. It's you're working with homeowners. They're usually really excited about this new home that they're buying, and they're really interested in the information that you're giving them. And it's the same with being an energy advisor. You're educating a person on their home. You get to be in different houses every day. You're meeting different people. I mean, people make this job what it is. I think it's a tough profession, because you have to be able to talk to people. You have to be sociable. You have to be able to interact with a variety of different homeowners. You have to, want to be outside. There's a lot of outdoor work, which is fantastic in the summer. More challenging.
Not in February.
I know, but
in Toronto,
you're interacting with humans. You're interacting with different kinds of homes. But I think it's a good profession, especially if you're just out of school. You're looking for something to get you in the door in terms of energy efficiency. If you're really excited about that kind of thing.
What resonates to me is when I started in my early 20s. So mid to late 20s, which was about 3 weeks ago. Again, I had no sense of direction. All I needed to do, all I wanted to do was I wanted to be entrepreneurship. I wanted to leverage what I've learned in school. I've accumulated a shit ton of debts, and I just want to have a side gig, and hopefully that side gig will become a full-time gig, and off we go. So I got into the solar business, which was a disaster, but that leading to the home energy audit business, which has been absolutely incredible. And at the beginning it was a side gig, and then it turned into a full-time gig. And now it seems like I want to give back, and I want to find those very same individuals like myself in their late 20s and early 30s, new grads from universities with a technical degree where they have the same type of mindset, and kind of bring it to their attentions and see whether they can actually run with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be my preference of the people that I want to hire. You know what I mean? I know you have a lot of debt. You have a degree that you can stand upon it, but like $75,000-$80,000 a year as your full-time salary after accumulating $80,000 worth of debt with the current real estate market. I mean, and that's on the higher end, right? That's on the higher end. I mean, people are making much lower than that now too. Like, how do you set those individuals for success? And make sure that, you know, they have a career. And I get really excited when I actually have the meeting of minds with those type of candidates.
We have some really good people that are interested in the business, and I really hope that we can maintain a business, that we can maintain these programs and get the word out about the importance of the information that can be obtained through an energy audit, because there are such good people that are wanting to get in the industry. But it's and I think we talked about it before. It's, you know, there is that physical aspect, so you need people that can go out and climb it in attics, but you also need people who can, you know, manipulate HOT 2000.
Right.
So it's an interesting intersection of skills.
And I you know, I've trained a lot of people to become an energy advisor, and my motto has been, so long as you're willing to learn, and you have that element of humanity within you, and you're just willing to comply and work hard, I'm confident, you know, some sooner than others, you can become an energy advisor. You can become an energy advisor, and you can get on with the profession. Obviously, if you have a technical degree and you're more proficient on certain things, and or if you're more academic, especially now when it comes to passing the exams, it will be more of a beneficial to you versus someone that hasn't studied for a long time, and now they have to pass these 3-hour long exams, 2 of them. You know, you're shaking your head. Does that mean you love it?
I love it.
Okay, just like the virtual audit.
Well, I mean, that's if you can.
You heard it here first, folks. Denise love NRCan exams.
But that's if you can get to an exam center.
How is COVID treating you, by the way? I'm making a conscious effort.
Out of the house.
I'm making a conscious effort not to talk about fucking COVID. I'm so over it.
We have been so good. We have been good. So compliance, I guess, is the word. Like, I have been staying at home, you know, wearing masks everywhere. My kids are not playing sports, and it's and now they're talking about the third wave. Like, are you kidding me?
The third wave.
What? Are we not done? Like, one.
Apparently not. Third waves are coming.
And I'm so patient. Like, I have been really patient, and now I'm not anymore.
First virtual audit. Now the NRCan exams. Now the goddamn third wave. When is this madness going to come to an end?
Is this what I signed up for? I don't remember there being
I don't remember this thing being so long. You know, there is a seriousness element to this, and for the entire 5 users of ours, we like to promote that you need to follow all COVID-19 protocols, but it is frustrating.
You know, and I give so much credit to our advisors and our home inspectors who are going into the fields and are going into people's houses. I mean, they are just amazing.
Incredible. Like, honestly, like modern day heroes within the context of what we do. And hopefully this will come to an end. I have a pretty good feeling that come June, July.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It would be something that we talk about. But there is There are talks of another shutdown.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes.
Honestly.
You know what that means? More time for those individuals to write their exams and study at home. Look at the bright side. Make lemonade, people. Make lemonade.
If they can get to an exam center.
Oh, come on.
There are none. Newfoundland, Labrador,
You know what I mean?
New
Talk
Brunswick,
about mundane,
Manitoba.
ancient
There's
things.
none.
It's so funny. You know what I mean? And then I wonder, like, you know, if there are no exam centers, how would NRCan do it? They'll probably, like, I'm just imagining like a facilitator on a horse riding to people's homes, and they're like, we are here, pen and paper, complete this exam. And I'll just sit here with a clock and time take you. But it's funny that, again, like, talk about more mundane things to consider, like virtual supervised testing. It's extremely common, gentlemen. It happens everywhere. But again, within the context of our industry, that's just crazy talk.
But universities are doing it. There's
all the time.
there's gotta be.
Why aren't we doing this through Yardstick?
I don't know. I really, really want to believe that somebody is working really, really hard to make the change. I really want to believe it. I do. Do I believe it? Not really.
I can sense them right now, typing away under ancient typing machines.
And
Like,
they know. I mean, these are we talk of NRCan as this huge entity, this without a human face, but there are people in there that I know are people, and they understand.
and wonderful people. Like, I think on the operation side, like, the people that help us day in and day out
Yeah.
with our question, they're incredibly amazing people and super understandings, and they are there for the service organizations, and they are there for the homeowners and so forth. But I think from a strategic perspective and process and innovation, that whole thing needs to be relooked at, and that whole thing has, I mean, look at the bright side. There's only room to move up, you know?
If you look at that, the Evergreen, that ship that was stuck in the Suez Canal, like, if you think of NRCan as this huge ship, I mean, they got that moved.
Where are we on that ship? I love your evergreen metaphor. Where does virtual audit fit into that ship?
No, I'm saying if
I got you.
NRCan is that big, immovable thing that's.
Are you calling NRCan fat? Just kidding. No, I'm just hosting around.
I'm calling them stuck. They're stuck.
I think we're those little boxes on Evergreen's ship.
Yes. Yeah.
That was pretty massive, though.
Okay, do you know what blew my mind? Did not know a lot about the Suez Canal. This is a body of water that moves how much of the world's products?
Isn't it 12% or something?
And
Like,
it's
something
it's
huge.
just dirt. It's just dirt on the sides. Like, nobody paved that. Like, nobody put. Like, how could a boat just? It's
crazy. And it's, you know what I mean? It's one of those minds that if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yes.
Until like a big ass evergreen ship gets stuck right in the middle of it.
But-
Okay, we need to fix it now.
But you know that there's somebody there who's been saying for years, this is going to happen, and well, it hasn't happened yet. Yes. But it only took like 3 days to move it. Like, they didn't learn anything.
And luckily, no lives were
Yes.
were dampened as a result of it, right? So I think that's the most critical thing. Yeah.
You know, it was really nice to have something else to focus on. That wasn't like
I know.
There was no bad guy. There was no there was not a good guy. It was just this really cool.
Yeah, it was
problem.
nice to not think about the third wave for a second and just focus on like a big ass ship being stuck in a canal. You know, it's good.
Yeah.
And then imagine people talk about, what about the third wave? Look at that ship. Everybody forgets. Thank you, Evergreen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's part of the conspiracy theory that they intentionally put it there so people don't think about COVID.
Keep it moving. Nobody's that organized. Nobody is that organized. No government body is organized enough to.
How can we stop thinking about COVID? We're going to take that big ass ship and we're going to put it right in the middle of the canal. And that should distract people for a few days.
Yes. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Denise, it's been a pleasure. to have this conversation with you. Very funny, very insightful. Thank you for making the time, breaking all COVID-19 regulations, and being with us today.
I really appreciate you asking. This is fun. It's always.
Of course, I knew you were going to be on my episode 3 for sure, for sure. Everything that we have worked for us brought us to this moment right here. Awesome to have you with us. I'm sure we're going to have more of these discussions in one form or another. Thank you again. Stay safe, and let's see how 2021 unfolds.